Lifecycle management is something near and dear to my heart. And if you're a business owner or decision maker listening to this, you may not have ever heard of it, or you may say like, well, why is that an important thing? So technology lifecycle management is the philosophy, the practice, the exercise of tracking equipment that you have that's necessary to run your computer systems. It's the equipment that your staff use every day. It's the wireless in the air that they connect to the internet. It's the security system that prevents someone from coming in from the outside. It's all those silent things that technology does for us on a daily basis. And lifecycle management is the curation of that collection of technology, so that we're making sure that it's at its appropriate stage in its life cycle, and that it hasn't aged out. It's not preventing your team from being as productive as possible. And so we do a lot of technology lifecycle management at Securi. In my role as a VCIO, I spend almost all my day doing that. And so there's some things I want to just kind of talk about really quickly. One is the risk of not doing technology lifecycle management. And although you may say, well, I've never done it and I've never been at risk. And I'll pose back the question of, but is that true? Could there have been a downtime that you avoided? Could there have been a loss of trust that was avoided because of a security breach your organization had? Could your employees have been more productive because they had a computer or a device that worked better? Those are the questions and the things that we see as some of the major risks of not performing technology lifecycle management. And I would say that organizations that are big have big impacts when they don't do this. And actually, organizations that get to a certain size, they intuitively recognize they have to do technology lifecycle management. And that's one of the reasons they come to us, is we are really, really good at that. And we stand out uniquely in the industry for being able to do that. But even businesses that are smaller benefit significantly, because as a small business, you don't have a lot of resources. And when you have a significant technology disruption that could have been avoided, all that time and energy is spent going to something that's of no value, versus taking those resources you spend anyways, and then being proactive and preventing those outages. So, so technology lifecycle management is important because it's a proactive exercise we perform. It's a philosophy to help businesses know when their equipment needs to be replaced, and to kind of expand upon what you're looking for. So that would be the firewalls that protect your office from the internet, the network switches that connect all the cables and are the central nervous system of communication, the Wi-Fi access points that give the Wi-Fi internet at your office, the printers you have, the cabling. All of those things are in the background and no one sees them, but they age, they fall, they fail if not maintained and kept up to date. Also, the computers that your staff use and the servers. And so some general rules of thumb when you're doing lifecycle management is computers, standard computers that could be laptop, tablets, or workstations, get 5 years of usable life if they're a business class computer. If the computer, let's say, was purchased from Costco or Best Buy or from like a value source, you should expect 1 year to 3 years of life out of that computer. They're designed, they're intentionally built with components that won't last very long because it was a low cost, versus business class computers are built with components that consistently last 5 or more years. If you have an engineering class computer, that's a really robust system. Those generally last 7 years. Servers last 7 years, and most network equipment lasts 5. And although you may say, well, like, why would I replace something if it's not broken? And I hear this on an almost daily basis when I talk with customers through this philosophy and mindset change, is that what does it cost you to not have control of your future? What does it cost you during that downtime? I often talk about the downtime calculation, which is the cost of staff, the cost of operations, and the cost of lost revenue. And when most companies add that up, they're losing thousands of dollars a day. So that's really what your budget is for lifecycle management, because you're going to likely spend it at a time that's inconvenient and not on your plan. So if you might as well take that money and put it towards creating a plan, reducing that downtime, getting some value from that investment, and once again taking control back of your computer system. But I'll just briefly give you tell you the story, right? We all love stories. So Sakuri didn't always provide lifecycle management, and for many years we struggled to pinpoint how to stop chaos in IT. And it's a common thread, especially for like medium size and, or I'd say smaller or lower value IT providers. They have a really hard time controlling chaos. And so they become a reactionary firefighting team. And Sakuri was that stage at one point. We've grown through it. What we realized was we were not being proactive in our IT equipment lifecycle management. And so we shifted our philosophy where we started offering this service and we started implementing it for customers. And it was the pivot point where Sakuri changed from being that reactive company to being a proactive company. We changed from having low value reactive tech support to high value strategic IT support. Our help desk stopped getting unnecessary calls. We stopped having those emergencies, and we were now having calls and requests for strategic value things like, how do I use this new tool? I want to leverage AI, versus before it was, my systems are down, help. And so we didn't expect it to be such a significant significant change to our business, but it's really what allowed Sakuri to scale. And so from our business, we started to grow because our customers started to grow. And so anyone who's looking or is concerned or is not sure about lifecycle management, highly recommend it. It will take your company's IT from fighting fires and having no value to stability and a strategic advantage you can leverage in your competitive market.